Whenever I hear AccuWeather talk about impending cold weather, I not only think about how it's going to affect me, but I always think about the men and women who are out in the elements every day. And whether it's the Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, or it's the folks working for the Turnpike or PennDOT, or anyone who's outside making a living when we are nice and warm inside, I always take time to say Godspeed and thank you for what you do. So let's get him on the air here. Retired, but still out there promoting the Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters and teaching that great skill set in the place that is Las Vegas and helping family members and even your Pratt Pack solve problems from time to time. So here he is, Rick Okrashevsky. A very early happy holiday, and once again, the Carpenters Union will be hanging the Feast of the Seven Fishes sign at Coons Market on McKnight Road. Mr. Mazza, and hopefully this gentleman will stop by, but they have always been at my side, and I'm always proud to say good evening to Rick Okrashevsky and to say thank you for what the men and women of the Carpenters Union and the building trades do for us every year and every generation. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Rob. And as you said, a very early but very timely happy holidays to everyone from the Eastern Atlantic States Carpenters. We're proud to be part of the city and the community to help to promote a wonderful holiday and help in any way that we can to make things joyous this time of year.
Listen, you do so much for us, and what I want to talk about tonight is why work will be plentiful for the Carpenters Union and the building trades in 2025 and moving forward, and how if there are any people out there who are thinking possible career change after being in just a few years their current position, or someone that is about ready to graduate at the end of the school year, meaning in May and June of 2025, you need to really apply within. You know, there's not a day that doesn't go by, Rick, that I don't think about the Carpenters Union, and that's a fact. And I must tell you, whether it is working in healthcare, we just recently had Medical Frontiers on tonight. I know how much you've all worked with the Allegheny Health Network in conjunction with Highmark. I've been talking a lot about the Nippon U.S. Steel deal and talking about manufacturing and middle class. And, you know, if that billion were to come here, it would help as far as the building trades, I believe, because it would keep people working as they would work in the Mon Valley. But from the Shell cracker plant to places of education, to corporate America, to real estate, to the buildings that are here today that have been such a shining example, like the U.S. Steel building to this region, there's nowhere that you don't look that the Carpenters once were needed and are still needed to this day. A big footprint, right?
Thank you, Rob. You're right on point. All the big places in our city, the UPMCs, the Allegheny Health Networks, the U.S. Steels, the local area colleges, our health, all of our private institutions that we have here, Coons Market, for instance, that we do things for. There's lots of interest in the trades. There's lots of interest in building. And there's just so much that's going on in our region that I don't think a lot of people truly see it unless you're in our business of construction. And, you know, it's all over the place. If you drive through the Strip District, you see so much housing being built and so much renovation happening in our region. And we're just blessed to have it. And, you know, we have so many friends in our region here that help us continue to keep busy. The infrastructure bill has helped so much with our bridges and roadways, our railways, our waterways, all the things that need to happen to move commerce around the United States and particularly around our area here in the city. It's a great thing that's happening here, and I don't think we look at it enough. You know, the terrible thing that just happened in Wisconsin. You know, my heart goes out to the people there in Madison and the deceased. It's a terrible thing that happened there, and I wish we never had to talk about that kind of stuff. But it's part of the structure of what goes on in our world today, and I hope to look past it, and hopefully we can pray for the people that had such a terrible day today.
Absolutely horrendous. And I was talking about that earlier, and I'll get back to that coming up in a little bit. But our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone involved in another senseless, random act of violence. I do want to talk about why what you do and the building trades, putting people to work, can actually help solve some of those bad headlines. Because when people are working, communities are working together, they know each other. And there's more than just the financial prosperity. It's the spiritual prosperity. It's the family unit. It's a healthy living, and it's something worth living for. So, as I said earlier about the U.S. Steel, Nippon Steel deal, it's more than the bottom line, in my opinion, and I'm one that believes it has to get done, and I'm not going to put you on the spot or anyone, but this is just my opinion. The bottom line is when people are working, communities are a lot more healthy, are they not, Rick?
For sure, Rob. I mean, we need to keep people working. I mean, when I see the apprentices that come into the training center and I see them coming from no hope to a lot of hope,
Right.
it makes a world of difference. And when someone can then sit down and realize that they're going to be able to buy a car or buy a home or buy a motorcycle or do something, get married and start their life, it changes the perspective that they have on life. And I've experienced that for many, many years. I mean, I started teaching back in 1992, and it's hard to believe, but that's over 30 years ago now. And you sit back and you see some of the people that you've had in the training center, and you see them with successful careers and getting on in life, and you wonder what would happen if they didn't have that opportunity to be able to pursue that job that they had. Not everyone is college bound. Not everyone, and those that aren't, oftentimes their brain is connected to their hands, and when their hands can build things, and we can build the buildings that we need to support the manufacturing and the moving of commerce across our nation, that's what it's about. And when people can make a living doing that, to support their children, to get them off to school and to do whatever they need to do, it gives you hope, and it gives you a reason to get up every morning, for sure.
Well, I know one thing. I just appreciate the building trades, and he's kind of been with us on my journey as far as remodeling my home, and we're actually getting a lot done, and things are really moving forward. But I have a wonderful gentleman by the name of Lou Bruno, five-star remodelers, been helping me. He does a lot of work here at Odyssey, just a great guy from Odyssey, of course, but also his hometown of Burgettstown. But his brother Sam is a member of the Boilermakers 154, and he's been laid off for a couple of weeks while they're doing some work at the Sherwin-Williams plant in Rochester, so he's been helping his brother out. Listen, I knew you guys could do anything in the building trades and gals, but I've seen this guy do things that I would have never thought of, and I'm like, where did you learn that? And he would always go back to an experience on the job as a Boilermaker, being a member of the building trades, and a lot of that rubbing off on his younger brother, Lou. So this is more than just a job. It's an adventure where you can not only do things for friends and families, but if you need some side work to make a little extra to help your family when you're either laid off or in between jobs or at night or in the morning when you're not working, it's a skill set that you can take with you the rest of your life. So you're never going to be without that resource of using your hands to make a living to take care of your family. Rick.
There's no doubt about it, Rob. My cousin Hunts, he's a plumber, and when your toilet or sink doesn't work, you're calling him right away. With me, whenever you're kicking your door shut, sooner or later you do call me because it doesn't close or it doesn't open. So there's always a need for a tradesperson, a plumber, an electrician, a carpenter, someone to do something to make life easier and make life better. And we're forgotten about that. And it's very interesting that I was talking to a young man the other day, and a lot of the buildings that we build, we start them from the foundations. We bring the foundations out of the ground. You build the structure of the building. You're in every room. You're building the walls. You're doing everything you do. And once the building is then occupied by the eventual tenant or the owner, we're not allowed back. It's a very interesting dynamic. So we build the thing from the bottom to the top. We shine up the doorknobs, we leave, and then we have to get super duper permission to get back in there.
They take the keys back. Listen,
they take the keys back.
I want to salute Plumbers Local 27, big part of this region too. Listen, I'm all in. Iron workers, steam fitters, pipe fitters, heavy equipment operators, and the great Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters. I'm telling you, we would be lost without each and every one of these men and women. And I'm going to talk about why this paycheck that really has kept America afloat for generations through some of the most difficult times in our country is still so important. So the Carpenters not only build things, but they make things better by spending the money they work so hard for in our community. He is Rick Okreshewski. We're talking My Labor of Love, the Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters in the building trades. We'll be back with more in just a moment. So let me ask you, do you think the average person realizes what those thousands of building trade jobs meant for Beaver County? We sold a lot of hot dogs and hamburgers because of those hard men and women who spent years there. I'm not so sure the average person realizes how much that money is really what has kept America afloat during some very difficult times, Rick.
That's a very good point, Rob. Most people don't. You know, the jobs that we work on, like the cracker plant, or, you know, let's just go back to when the U.S. Steel Building was built, or the Presby Hospital that's going up right now. You know, you ride by and look at it and say, "Whoa, look at that! Look what's going on." But no one can really visit that and walk around that job to see what we're doing. I mean, you've got to have, you know, tremendous amount of safety involved in those projects, and the every person that's there, if you notice, if you're in Oakland now, you see the construction workers walking off the job with their hard hats and their construction safety gear on and walking back onto the job. So the way that things have changed in the 45 years that I've been involved is, you know, we're walking on and off the site. The minute you step on the site, you have to be safety oriented. And so people are not realizing what goes on these projects, and the amount of effort that goes on to make sure that people come to work and go home from work. That's the important part. Is have you made it through the day safely? Can you get home to your family? And can you create an atmosphere to and a city and a region to work and support that region? So all those people that are walking on and off those jobs, we look at them and say, "Ah, look at that hard hat guy." Meanwhile, that hard hat guy's buying a house, buying a car, buying food, buying lunch. You know, I see them all riding back and forth with scooters where they're parking in different areas of Oakland. And think about all that. I mean, think about how many of these little scooters that are being purchased, and all the different clothing and all the tools and all the things that happen, as well as all the professional people, the accountants and the attorneys, and all the people that get involved in these type of projects that most people don't even realize are going on. All the project management people, the people in the offices, you know, they just don't get it on how much happens with construction that supports way more than just the construction worker, but the local area region, the local area people, the local businesses. People don't realize what goes on there, and so, you know, I've watched it for years, and I've always said it and touted it for many years that, you know, we support our local area businesses when we build buildings in their region. And it's an interesting dynamic. And think of this one, Rod. Years ago, back in the late 60s, early 70s, when U.S. Steel Building was built, we now build the creche, the manger for the for the region to enjoy on the creche pavilion, or on the U.S. Steel Pavilion down there over top of the fountain. So that's a pretty interesting dynamic when you think about it. You know, the building was built, what, 50 years ago, more than that. And now we build the creche for everyone to enjoy the Christmas season. It's pretty cool when you think about it.
Do you think we just get this emotional because we're getting older, but everything that you're painting a picture with tonight, it just makes my heart soar with joy, so really, and feels so good because I know how much of a tradition all of this has meant to you and all of the years of hard work. It wasn't so much about the physical work, but it's about mentally where you are today, knowing that you fought the good fight. And hopefully, if we continue to promote, more and more people will become a part of the building trades. So they're going to be able to have the same memories that you and I cherish to this day, looking back and living now in the present and looking ahead, Rick.
You're right, and you know, emotion is very difficult. You know, when you get older and you start looking back, you know, you get emotional over the things that you were very tough in getting to push through.
Right.
You know, I mean, I was a pretty tough carpenter superintendent on jobs. I was pretty tough at the school to make sure that we were putting out the people that could get these jobs done in a very tough environment. But when you look back and you realize some of these young people that you had to grab by the collar and make sure that you kept them going straight down the road are now running the projects that you see being built today. So it's pretty cool when you really sit back and think about it. And people say, Rick, you're pretty emotional. I said, well, there's two types of emotion. There's emotion where you're crying. There's emotion that, you make sure things are getting done correctly. And, those kind of things happen in our business. And a lot of people don't realize that. They just think we're a bunch of tough guys that, build our muscles and whatever. Well, that's not the case. We're building America. We're building the things that we use every single day to go to the hospital, to manufacture, to ride down the road, to go over bridges. People don't realize what it takes to get that kind of stuff done all year long, whether it's 90 degrees outside or 20 below zero. We're still out there banging it out, making sure it gets done for the region and for the area. And let's face it, we're making money doing that. That's the way we make our money. And we're happy that happens, and we're proud to be part of this region for sure.
Well, let me close by saying this. When I had my initial meetings with Lou and you and Bill and now Steve, I'm ready to take the hammer. I'm ready to go to work. You guys have taught me a lot of life lessons that I will take with me the rest of my life. I can't tell you how much respect. And it started as a young child, and I've passed it on to my two sons and daughter, and I hope to do with my grandchildren. And I tell my audience all the time, and there's no other reason other than I appreciate people that are out every day making a difference. And then you look at this thing called life and every aspect of it. It's always began and it always has been about the working men and women of this country. And the building trades are the most shining example of good work ethic, quality, paying it forward, and more importantly, giving us all a better and stronger foundation to stand on. So I'm going to give you the final minute, but I thank you, and I'm so blessed to have you as a friend. Go ahead.
Thank you, Rob. Same here. And we can't thank you enough for the support that you've given to the trades. I mean, you have sort of taken that on as a mission to be sure that you thank the tradespeople, and we appreciate that. And look, we don't want to pretend that we're the only people. Every single person that does any kind of work in our country is important, and we have to work with one another to move this country forward, to make it the strongest country in the world, which it is. And we're just going to keep moving that way. And we thank you for all the support you give us. And a lot of it is unsolicited. You just do that because we've built a friendship and you see all the people that we work with and the things that we do. And we appreciate that. And that's to everyone else in any business, any place in our country. So thank you so much.
I'll leave you with this. It comes down to one thing that we all have in common, a bag of groceries. It's all about feeding the family. That's the bottom line. End of story. Broadcaster, carpenter, bag of groceries. I hope to see you on Christmas Eve, but if not, Merry Christmas and a blessed season to you and your family, okay?
We'll see you there, Rob. We'll get the sign up on Monday.
The great guy, the great Carpenters Union, Rick Okreshevsky, back to continue to salute labor and talk about the headlines of the day in just a couple of moments. It's your Pratt Pack.